By the end of the 6th century BCE, the Greek cities of Ionia had fallen into Persian hands in the aftermath of Cyrus's conquest of Lydia. Although Persians tended to treat their subjects with respect, the discontent among the Ionians was growing. Now, under the rule of a foreign king called Darius, they were ready to rebel. The unlikely leader of the rebellion, Aristogoras of Miletus, visited mainland Greece in search of military support. He told tales of Persian wealth waiting to be taken and armies that could easily be defeated. The Spartans rejected him, mainly because they could not afford to be away from Sparta for long periods of time, fearing a Helot uprising. Aristogoras had more success at the cities of Athens and Eritrea. Their motivation was likely a desire to help their fellow Greeks, mixed with an egoistic greed for the eastern riches. A total of 25 ships were sent to aid the rebellion. The second year of the revolt, 498 BCE, saw the only major Ionian land offensive of the war. The rebels, backed by an Athenian contingent, attacked Sardis, the jewel of the empire. As a result, a large part of the city was burned, an emotional blow to Darius, if not a physical one. The Persians reacted quickly and caught the retreating army near Ephesus. There, the rebels were defeated and left to retreat. What was left of the Ionian army now disbanded. It was decided that any future operations would be executed by sea. This defeat also caused the Athenians to withdraw their support. They fled back to Athens, fearing Persian repercussions. Darius vowed to exact revenge on them for the burning of Sardis. But first, he was determined to deal with the turbulent cities who dared to rebel. The decisive event came in 494 BCE with the Battle of Lade and the subsequent fall of Miletus. The leaders of the Ionians decided to focus all of their efforts on producing as large a navy as possible, leaving the defense of the city of Miletus to the Milesians. If the Persian fleet could be defeated, after all, the city would be safe. In total, the Ionians managed to raise 353 ships with Miletus, Chios, Lesbos, and Samos providing the largest numbers. Although this was an impressive fleet, the Ionians were outnumbered by the Persian, who had around 600 ships. Herodotus says that these large numbers were provided by the Phoenicians, the Egyptians, Cilicians, and the Cypriots. They were commanded by the veteran general Darius. After the Persians neared Miletus, a standoff developed off the shores of the island of Lade. The morale of the rebels was shaken by the sight of the mighty Persian fleet. Darius even sent messengers to inform the Ionians that the lives and property of any soldier that abandoned the fight would be spared. Sensing that the rebels were losing heart, Darius ordered an attack. The Ionian fleet formed up into a column, preparing to intercept the enemy ships. One by one, the Ionian vessels began to leave the fight. The Samians first hoisted their sails and left the fleet. After the Samians sailed away, they were followed by the contingent from Lesbos. Now, with a third of the fleet gone, the remaining crews decided that the battle was lost and began to row back. Part of the Ionian fleet refused to flee, most notably the brave Chian contingent. They stayed and fought, inflicting heavy losses on the Persian, but eventually most of their ships had been lost. The Persian victory at Lade effectively smashed the Ionian Revolt. The way to the fall of Miletus was wide open. (494 BC). The desperate Milesians were now isolated against the Persian army. Still, the walls protected the desperate citizens for some time. The Persians used every device available at the time in a furious attempt to take out the defense of the polis. Eventually, the city was captured and devastated. The Persians killed most of the men, enslaved the women and children, and destroyed the shrines. Miletus had been one of the great cities of the Greek world, home of such figures like the philosopher Thales and the mathematician Pythagoras. Now it burned with a fire fueled by unquenching Persian wrath. By 493, the Ionian Revolt was put down after a series of campaigns on the Lydian cities. Finally, the Persians switched to a policy of reconciliation and even went as far as restoring democratic regimes. Darius, however, was not done. He understood that if anyone challenged his power, he would have to make an example of them. In his world, there was one virtue above all, and that was strength. If you are strong, you conquer. If you are weak, you are conquered. Just like Miletus, he intended to show the Athenians and the rest of the world what Persian strength was all about.